Welcome to part 2 of the dawn of Korean civilization, ancient kingdoms and beginnings. If you haven't watched part 1, feel free to click the first link in the description. Without further ado, buckle up and let's start. The unification of Korea. The story of Korea's ancient kingdoms does not end with the rise of Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla. Instead, it leads to one of the most pivotal moments in Korean history, the unification of Korea. The story of Korea's ancient kingdoms culminates in one of the most defining moments in the peninsula's history, the unification of Korea under Silla. This unification was not merely the result of military conquest, it was a complex process that involved diplomacy, shifting alliances, and the strategic exploitation of geopolitical realities. By the 7th century CE, the three kingdoms, Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla, had been locked in a protracted struggle for dominance over the Korean Peninsula for centuries. Each kingdom had its own strengths. Goguryeo was a military powerhouse, Baekje was a cultural and artistic hub, and Silla was a rising force known for its administrative acumen and military organization. But the constant state of warfare was draining the resources of all three kingdoms, and none could secure a decisive victory over the others. The turning point came when Silla, under the leadership of King Myeol and later King Munmu, forged a crucial alliance with the Tang dynasty of China. This alliance was a masterstroke of diplomacy. While it meant that Silla would have to make certain concessions to Tang, including acknowledging Tang's suzerainty, it also provided Silla with the military support needed to defeat its rivals. In 660 CE, with the help of Tang forces, Silla launched a successful campaign against Baekje. The kingdom of Baekje, despite its long history and cultural achievements, was unable to withstand the combined might of Silla and Tang. Baekje's capital fell, and the kingdom was absorbed into Silla's growing domain. Yet, the remnants of Baekje's royal family and military continued to resist, rallying in Japan and other regions, demonstrating the deep loyalty and identity that persisted even after the kingdom's fall. The final and most formidable challenge for Silla was Goguryeo, the kingdom that had long been the dominant power in the north. Goguryeo was not only militarily strong but also geographically well protected, with its capital at Pyongyang fortified by natural defenses. However, Goguryeo was weakened by internal strife, and after a series of brutal battles and sieges, Silla, again with Tang support, was able to conquer Goguryeo in 668 CE. With the fall of Goguryeo, Silla had effectively unified most of the Korean peninsula under its rule. However, the unification was not a simple matter of military conquest. The Silla-Tang alliance began to strain as the Tang dynasty attempted to establish control over the newly conquered territories. Silla, recognizing the threat to its sovereignty, turned its efforts to resisting Tang influence, eventually driving the Chinese forces out of the peninsula. This period of post-war consolidation is known as the later Silla period, during which Silla worked to integrate the diverse peoples and cultures of the former three kingdoms into a single, cohesive state. The Golden Age of Unified Silla. The unification of the Korean peninsula under Silla marked the beginning of a golden age in Korean history. The Unified Silla period, which lasted from 668 to 935 CE, was characterized by political stability, economic prosperity, and cultural flourishing. For the first time, the Korean peninsula was under the control of a single, centralized government, which allowed for more effective administration and the development of a unified national identity. One of the most significant cultural achievements of the Unified Silla period was the spread of Buddhism. Buddhism had been introduced to Korea centuries earlier, but it was during this period that it truly took root and flourished, becoming the dominant religion and a central part of Korean life. The state-sponsored construction of temples, pagodas, and other religious monuments, many of which still stand today, is a testament to the importance of Buddhism in Silla society. Perhaps the most famous of these is Goguryeo Temple, located in Gyeongju, the capital of unified Silla. Goguryeo is not only a masterpiece of Korean Buddhist architecture but also a symbol of the spiritual and artistic achievements of the Silla period. Nearby, the Seokguram Grotto, a cave temple featuring a magnificent statue of the Buddha, stands as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, revered for its artistic beauty and the deep sense of serenity it conveys. The unified Silla period also saw significant advances in science, technology, and literature. The development of the Korean writing system began to take shape, and scholars produced important works of literature, history, and philosophy. The bone rank system, a rigid caste system that had long defined Silla society, began to erode as the central government sought to integrate the various regions and peoples of the peninsula, leading to a more unified and cohesive society. Economically, unified Silla benefited from its strategic position along trade routes that connected it to China, Japan, and even farther afield. The kingdom became a hub of international trade, with goods from as far away as the Middle East making their way to Korean markets. This period of prosperity allowed for the funding of grand construction projects, the patronage of the arts, and the accumulation of wealth by the state and its elite. The legacy of the Three Kingdoms. The unification of the Korean Peninsula under Silla was a momentous achievement, but the legacy of the Three Kingdoms period continued to influence Korean history long after the fall of Goguryeo and Baekje. Each of the Three Kingdoms left behind a rich cultural and historical legacy that continued to shape Korean identity. Goguryeo's legacy lived on in the memories of its fierce independence and military prowess. Many Koreans of the later Goguryeo and Joseon dynasties looked back to Goguryeo as a symbol of resistance against foreign domination, particularly during periods of conflict with China. The name Goguryeo, from which the modern name Korea is derived, was itself a tribute to Goguryeo, reflecting the enduring pride in the ancient kingdom's achievements. Baekje's contributions to Korean culture, particularly in the arts and architecture, also endured. The kingdom's influence was particularly strong in Japan, where Baekje immigrants played a key role in the development of Japanese culture, including the introduction of Buddhism. The cultural exchanges between Baekje and Japan helped to create lasting ties between the two nations, even as political relations fluctuated over the centuries. Silla's greatest legacy was its role in unifying the Korean Peninsula and laying the foundations for a unified Korean identity. The achievements of the unified Silla period in culture, religion, and governance set the stage for the development of the later Goguryeo and Joseon dynasties. Silla's emphasis on centralized government and its success in integrating the diverse peoples of the peninsula would influence Korean statecraft for centuries to come. A civilization endures. As we reflect on the dawn of Korean civilization and the ancient kingdoms that shaped it, we see a story of resilience, innovation, and cultural richness. From the mythic origins of Gojoseon to the rise and fall of the Three Kingdoms, and finally to the unification under Silla, the early history of Korea is a testament to the enduring spirit of the Korean people. These ancient kingdoms were more than just political entities, they were the incubators of a civilization that would continue to evolve and thrive for millennia. Their legacies can still be felt today, not only in the cultural and historical consciousness of modern Korea but also in the values, traditions, and artistic achievements that continue to define Korean society. As we conclude this chapter of Korean history, it is clear that the dawn of Korean civilization was not merely the beginning of a nation, it was the birth of a culture, a way of life, and a spirit that has endured through the ages. The ancient kingdoms of Korea laid the groundwork for a civilization that would go on to make its mark on the world, and their story remains a source of inspiration and pride for all who seek to understand the rich tapestry of human history. This is just the beginning of the epic tale of Korea, a nation whose history is as deep and complex as any in the world. As we look forward, we continue to draw strength and inspiration from the lessons of the past, honoring the legacy of those who came before us, and carrying their spirit into the future. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.